Without further ado, I'm delighted to be joined in studio by Portfolio Manager Mark Schmehl and Fidelity Director of Private Equity, Annie Wang. Mark, Annie, wonderful to see you both here.
Thank you.
Now, Mark, you're here from San Francisco via Montreal.
I am.
You were at a client event. And Annie, you are, and actually I just wanted to mention before we get to you, Annie, you and I had a great discussion in Palm Beach recently to thousands of advisors through that forum on your funds. And we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about thematic AI, and I'm really looking forward to that. Now, everybody knows who you are, and Annie, you're going to be famous after this video. But could you please tell everybody what your role is and what your responsibility is at Fidelity?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm based in the San Francisco office along with Mark, and I'm on the private equity team. And really my focus is AI startups.
And Mark, I'd like to start with you then from a key question. Let's clear some stuff up. There's a lot of talk today about an AI bubble.
Yeah.
Now, Bill Gates would say that we are in a bubble, so would Michael Burry, and then Jay Powell would say, we're not. Can we start there before we get into the whole theme of AI?
Sure. It's very topical, and the market is wrestling with that as we speak. I think that the easiest way for me to address that is there are two camps. There is a very bullish engineering camp who sees the application and they're so excited to be working on it. And they're saying, look at all the things I can do with AI that I could never do before. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. And then there's the finance camp, which is very skeptical and saying this has gone too far too fast. And I don't think you engineers know what you're talking about. And it's clearly a bubble because my experience tells me it's a bubble. And so I think that what you have to answer for yourself as an investor is, who do I want to believe? The finance geeks in Wall Street or the engineering geeks in Silicon Valley? And for me, the engineers are seeing this more clearly than the finance guys are. They see the applications, they're in it, they're doing it. I'm going to go with engineers on this one. So my view is, it does seem a little overheated, but I do not believe it's a bubble as we speak now.
And if we think of the chart room, which you're a user of, there's always little retracements within the market.
Always.
But overall, the theme is there, it's powerful. Maybe some things are overheated, whatever, but that's what portfolio management's all about.
Nothing has changed. Fundamentals haven't changed. If anything, they're getting better. So I don't know.
And Annie, this is what the analyst side is all about as well. As Director of Private Equities, talk to us about the importance of the private space within this realm.
Sure, absolutely. This is where a lot of innovation is happening. We're talking to the engineers and understanding where the big ideas are. And so it's really my job and my team's job to be on the ground, meeting founders, talking to people that are building in the space, and almost trying to serve as a bridge between that community with the portfolio managers and people who spend most of the time in the public markets to understand what could happen in the future.
And you're based in San Francisco.
I am.
What size team are you part of?
Yeah, so our team is actually quite small. The private equity team is about 10 people. But we're very fortunate in that we're able to work with portfolio managers like Mark and lots of peers on the public side who are constantly thinking about AI as well to collaborate together.
And then, of course, you have the whole universe of Fidelity to be working with and drawing on and contributing to as well, not just in San Francisco with your key team.
Absolutely.
And Mark, how do you work with the private equity team?
I talk to them every day. Annie sits right across from me. The rest of her team is dispersed around the world. We have Vishal in San Francisco as well. I think that they have just the greatest window on the future, and they see what's happening before everyone else does. The themes, the smartest people are in the private world. They're working on things we've never even heard of before. And so it's just a lens on what's coming at us. And in the public markets, you're always dealing with, well, the future. In the private markets, you're living in the future, so to speak. And so from that standpoint, it's a great information source. It's really great to talk to these innovative founders. Annie will come to me every day and go, have you heard of this company? She does this, what was the name of the company today? I can't even remember. I was like, have you ever heard of this company? No. Do you know anyone who uses it? No. So like, this is the kind of back and forth we have all the time. And then we try and figure out, does anyone like this company? Do they use it? It is incredibly valuable. And being based in San Francisco is a huge, huge edge for like all things private.
So Annie, you're discovering things every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to continue on the background for AI before we get into use cases. You told me in 2022 somebody on your team saw a posting on a billboard or something on a lamppost that said there was an AI conference, and that got your interest. That was you, Annie.
Yeah, it was this small warehouse in the middle of like San Francisco, in Cerebral Valley.
Yeah.
My neighborhood had been renamed to Cerebral Valley, and it was incredible. We had no idea. It was just something we heard about.
You saw into the future.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was pretty remarkable, I think. When I joined Fidelity 3 years ago, ChatGPT was not a thing. It hasn't been created then, and like no one had heard of OpenAI. And being in San Francisco is so valuable. I'd actually gone to business school in the Bay Area, and the first time I learned about OpenAI was actually a few months before I joined Fidelity, and it was my friend's Instagram. She's a founder asking for an early invite code GPT-3. Which is pretty remarkable. And I think it's just so much of the benefits of being in San Francisco and just hearing about what founders and engineers are excited about. And so it's been a pretty cool journey.
So you have to be open to every medium, if you will, as far as information that's coming at you and thinking, how could this be additive to a portfolio manager? How could it be additive for our advisors and their clients? It's pretty fascinating. But because everybody knows Mag 7, but we're really talking about the incubation of the next wave. How do you weed out those companies that aren't going to survive or that you estimate aren't going to survive?
Sure. That's a fantastic question, and it's something that we think a lot about. I think about just how, where I've spent time and the team has spent time in terms of these AI companies. There's so many of them, right? And I think if I were to go back to 2022, that's when the ChatGPT moment happened. And I think we all kind of said to ourselves, this is something that we should pay attention to. Mm-hmm. But it was really hard to figure out who the winners and losers were at that point. But I think we knew that this AI thing was going to be big. And so you really started, I really spent a lot of time at the infrastructure level, looking at the picks and shovels. So, we've invested in names like CoreWeave, which is a next-gen AI cloud, or Vast Data, which is focused on storage for next-gen AI workloads. And then if we were to fast forward today, there's just a lot of focus on the applications and where the use cases of AI. And so I really think of that as kind of our journey of kind of moving up the stack as we learn more and more about AI.
Will you go as broad as also to look at inputs to a data center? For example, I hear that these things are very droney. They put them in backyards of people's neighborhoods, sure. And you need insulation for the cooling stacks. There's lots of companies that can be inputs to a structure like that. That provides a lot of opportunity for you.
Yeah, so absolutely. So in terms of the AI supply chain, right, that's definitely something that we're paying attention to. We also have someone who really specializes in the semi space, Anna Benjamin, who spends a lot of time there too.
Now, what are use cases of AI in your view, from what you do, but also what our clients can take away?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a few that really come up, in terms of on the consumer side. I think ChatGPT as a personal assistant, and people just use it for so many different things, from finding Christmas gifts, right, to improving my writing. And so I think in the consumer side, you've really seen a lot of traction there. On the enterprise side, coding is something that has emerged as a killer use case this year. Also see a lot of traction with customer success. And there's just a lot of startups that are building the space to build more specialized agents for certain domains. I think it's still early, but definitely a lot of smart people working in the space.
Early is a key point because there's a lot still to be learned, and the way that it's learned is by trial and error, isn't it? When EVs came out, autonomous driving, there was a lot of trial and error. We won't get into that, but that's true with AI in general, isn't it? There's a lot that needs to be out there in the world for the companies to learn more from. So yes, lots still to go.
Yes, definitely.
It's in its infancy. Yes. And why don't we go to the journey of a private company as well? As far as the development of a private company to then public, is that something that you want to talk to our customers about?
Sure, absolutely. I think the way we think about it is we want to meet the big, important public companies of tomorrow as soon as we can, and invest as soon as we can gain conviction that they'll be an important company.
Great, thank you. Mark, how do we coexist with superintelligence?
Good question.
Just a brief answer is fine.
I don't know that we're going to see superintelligence.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be happy with a better tool, generally speaking. And I think that that's how I think about AI. It's a better tool for a lot of different use cases. And as Annie was saying, we don't really know where they are. Like they're planting seeds everywhere, right? They're taking their super intelligence and throwing it at all these different problems. And there's other ones that I can't even remember all the names anymore that are attacking coding, and we just don't know where it's going to really work. But I think the one way to think about AI is this is the worst it's ever going to be. Like, it's just going to keep getting better, and we know from having watched it over the last 3 or 4 years that the capabilities of ChatGPT or Anthropic, it's amazingly different over 2 years. And then as we throw more compute at it and the algorithms get better, it just feels as though this is going to continue to get better. I don't know that we get to super intelligence, but what about super tool? Like, it's going to be a super tool, and it's going to allow us to do a lot of things.
That's less ominous if it's, I think, thought of as a super tool versus super intelligence, because we want to work alongside. Do you see the day where you have a robot walking around in your house washing your dishes?
Yes. We are currently looking at robotic companies in the Bay Area. It's funny, they're all working on folding. It's like really funny. There's like 10 different companies that are all working on folding clothes with the arms of the robot. I think that the robotics is not a hardware problem. I think it's a software problem. So the brain of the robot has to be good enough. And so what we need is we need the intelligence to get there. And you can sort of see the runway to getting there. I don't think it's outrageous to think that we may have robots in our homes in the next 10 years or 15, depending on supply chain and whatnot. You can see what they're doing, and you can sort of see the path. It's sort of like it took, I don't know how long it took Waymo to get going. 15 years from beginning to where it is now. Maybe 15 years for robotics, maybe not. I don't know, but you can see the path there.
And you're a big fan of Waymo. I'm sure you are as well, and I am as well when I go down to Scottsdale, and I'm sure all of our clients are wondering, what is that? Or perhaps they've tried. Annie, when you're meeting with companies, do you hear a lot about jobs as far as people saying, is this going to be a cost for my job, or is it going to be, are they going to lose a job? Is it taking away jobs, or is it additive, or just replacing the way people do things?
Sure. I mean, I think that's something that definitely comes up, and these questions are being asked of the companies that are building in the space as well. And I really think that people are very thoughtful in terms of how to build these tools and virtual collaborators. Just based on my own experience, I would not trust AI to completely do something autonomously, but it does help me be more succinct, or help me with better decision making, or do like kind of grunt work that I don't really want to do myself, and frees up my time to do more interesting work. And so I think this human in the loop model really resonates both with people that are using these tools and also the companies that are building in the space.
Excellent. Mark, do you see jobs as something, as an evolution, that it's really about, you're not going to be out of work, but it's really a shift in what it is that you do?
So the best example I can give on this is my son is a software engineer, and they're the pointy end of the spear in terms of being replaced by AI. And when we talk, he just gets more productive. And who doesn't want a more productive employee? And we are all in the business of competing with our competitors. And so if my employees get 10x more competitive and you don't, I'm going to beat you at the business game. And so for me, I do feel as though we're going through a transition where companies are trying to figure out their human resource needs. But I think that the smart companies are saying AI is a tool for productivity improvement, not a tool for cost reduction. And therefore, I'm going to invest as much as possible in people who know how to use AI to make my productivity go up. And I think that not everybody's there yet. There's still a lot of companies that are in the, I'm going to use AI and fire all these people. But I think the smart companies are like, I'm going to go hire a bunch of these people and make them way more productive. And then I'm going to outcompete my competition. So we're in this moment, and I think you have two different strategies. And I do believe that the productivity is the key part of the strategy. And ultimately, the most value in the market is ascribed to productivity, not to cost savings. If we paid for cost savings, we'd all own like a bank. But no, we pay for productivity, so we would all rather own Google. And that's what's more valuable to society is productivity enhancement, not cost reduction. And I think that's where we're going.
And your son is set up well now. That's good to know. So productivity enhancement. So from tools that you come across where our advisors may be inspired, really there's tools that help them become more efficient in what they do. They can take on more business, more clients. Can you talk about any of those types of tools that come across your desk?
I don't use any of them. I don't know, Annie, have you seen any of the finance tools that are out there?
We use like our internal tools, but they've been quite
But
helpful.
thematically, it's really about efficiency and
Yes.
productivity within the business.
Imagine if you're getting your emails and you have an AI bot scanning through your emails and saying, client XYZ just sent me this request for whatever it was, and it's some random paper trail I have to spend 5 days chasing down. The AI should be able to take that request, know what it is, find the paper, do the work, and send it back, and you don't have to do it. And theoretically, that is what you're going to see in AI. And so a lot of this paper chasing, many people have paper chasing aspects of their job. Those should be solvable from a workflow standpoint by AI. And I think we're going to see that. And I think we're going to see that faster than we expect. And I also think we're not going to necessarily buy a software platform to do that. It's going to be the AI will just do it on its own, and you won't need to go get a separate AI. You can just do it through ChatGPT or Claude for whatever.
I see. Annie, New York Times recently had an article on AI versus AI, and what it had to do with was what's real anymore. Do you have any thoughts, and I'd love to ask you this as well, Mark, just on how should advisors work with their clients on what to believe, what not to believe? For instance, if I saw you on TV during the World Series with a Blue Jays jersey on, I'd know it's you. But if you had a Dodgers jersey on, I'd think maybe that was constructed by AI. But Annie, do you come across thoughts, or do you have thoughts from a cyber crime standpoint, or what's believable and what's not, and maybe messages that advisors could pass to their clients?
Sure. I mean, I think it's such a fantastic question, and I really think you need everyone around the ecosystem to be working on this. And I think the model companies are actually doing a lot of work on this front. So, like for example, OpenAI restructured last week, and their nonprofit made a $25 billion commitment to 2 areas. One is for health and curing diseases, and the second area is for AI resilience, which is kind of like this next-gen ecosystem to think about some of the issues that we will face. So, I think it's evolving, but there's definitely a lot of thought and intentionality on this.
So there is policing, do you sense? Mark, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a fast-moving area that nobody really has good answers to. I think that different companies have different approaches, and it's contentious sometimes. Anthropic has one approach, OpenAI has one approach, Google has one approach. If you talk to all 3 of them, they all think they have the right approach to how to do it. I think that it's one of those areas that is important and needs to be talked about, and maybe it's not being addressed holistically by everybody at the moment. But I do think it's an issue that everybody is aware of. And I just don't think we have a coherent solution just yet. That's not saying we won't. I mean, we eventually figured out how to do rules for driving. We've eventually figured out how to do a lot of different complex things. We built laws and jurisprudence around all of this stuff. So we will get there, but it's going to take some time. It took a long time. Remember when Google came out and we had the keywords and nobody understood what keywords were? And we're like, what's a keyword? And it took us all about 10 years to figure out online advertising. I think that AI will be a similar sort of progression. It's going to take a while.
And what's the future looking like to you, Annie, at this point, as far as where you'd like to see the industry go and what you're seeing so far, and maybe catalysts that you're looking for?
Sure. I'm really excited about the future. Mark and I talk about this all the time, but when you have smart people working on interesting problems that they're really passionate about, really good things happen. And it's really about use cases and applications and making it really useful for more niche audiences. And I think we'll see a lot of progress there.
And Mark, your thoughts on the future for AI and things that you'd like to see, maybe a direction?
I would love to see AI solve my compliance problems for me. I'd love to have an AI that could do my taxes.
You know, there's a lot of advisors nodding. Not about you, but about their own practice, just to make sure that things are monitored correctly. But where are we with that?
I don't think we're anywhere yet, but these are the types of pain points that AI is perfect for. You know, doing your taxes for you, or all these painful things that you have to do in your life. It's usually grunt work, and it's paperwork, and it's process driven, and it's really hard, and it takes up a ton of time. So many of those tasks that AI could really solve, and that would make all of our lives better, so we could go play pickleball or do something else, right? So I don't know. I think that there's a lot of upside to the AI.
So really it's about creating balance in people's practices and people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk, Mark, from a trading standpoint, not exactly what you're trading, what you're buying and selling, we wouldn't go there, but how do you, with the craziness in the market, the volatility that we see, how do you work with your traders? Because this is a high octane area of the marketplace. How do you make sure you're getting the best fills, if you will, but also efficiency for your portfolios?
That is a question you need at my trading desk, but they have like a myriad of tools that allow them to optimize for all of this stuff. But again, AI is a great application for all things trading, and I know there are companies using it. There are companies using quantum for trading. So there are many ways to use this technology, and I think that we just haven't seen them all yet. And it's interesting when you talk to the big companies, they're like, demand is insatiable for AI. And of course, everyone else is like, well, it's a bubble. But then you talk to like Microsoft and they're like, it's insatiable demand, we can't meet it all. And I think that's because everyone is experimenting with all these different applications and they're having success, but they're not necessarily telling anyone. And they'll go to Annie and they'll say, hey, I got this use case and I got 300 million in revenue and you'd never heard of me before. And Annie's like, what? And I think there are a lot of those companies and a lot of those applications that we will see over the next 3 years evolve. And then we will all look back and go, oh yeah, it was used for all these things we didn't know.
Annie, volume of information that comes to you. I know that AI helps, but companies that are private must realize Fidelity is additive to their business. How do you make that efficient? We talked earlier about weeding out the companies that are less desirable. But when all this information is coming to you, there must be a line of questions. You probably can't tell us everything, but there must be an efficient way that you assess these companies. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
Sure. I mean, in terms of big picture, I think one, it's like, what's the customer pain point that you're solving, right? And I mean, really good example is ChatGPT, 800 million users. Clearly, they're solving a problem for someone. I think the second part is just around the team. Are they executing? Like, do they have some differentiated insight? I know we've talked about Environics a little bit, and early on they realized how important alignment and safety is to their enterprise customers, and so they invested very heavily in those efforts. And yeah, if you're going to have AI help you with decision making for HR or legal, you want to make sure that that there's guardrails that are built in place. And then I think the third one is just around like, do they have some type of like differentiated insight, right? Like, what is your right to win in this very, very competitive space? And so those are some of the things that I think about as we meet with these really exciting companies.
Excellent. Let's talk about those data centers that I was talking about earlier. I've seen they're 1 million to 2 million square feet. They're in backyards of homes. They're probably causing brownouts on electrical grids. Like, this is a huge power demand. Or is it something that's being met okay? What are your thoughts on that, Mark, as far as power consumption and criticism about that?
Okay, so I have a long answer for this. I'll try and shorten it. I think in the near term, it is an issue. There is a power crunch. Power is an engineering problem that is solvable. And there are a myriad of private companies currently working on lower power options. If you think about Google TPU versus NVIDIA GPU, the TPU is much less power hungry. So power is a variable that every engineer right now is trying to solve. It's the biggest cost for every single data center. And I think that what folks should think about is 5 to 10 years from now, they will have engineered better power, right? The GPUs will be more efficient on a per watt basis.
That's a silver lining from all of this, really.
It's 100%. Yeah. It's the biggest cost. It's like airlines trying to figure out how to get the energy, the fuel load down. The same with AI. So for me, I don't think power is a long-term structural problem. I think it is a short-term bottleneck that's going to be around for 2 years or so. And they're going to engineer solutions to get around this power bottleneck with better chips, better design, better everything. So yes, there's a lot of data centers and they have some issues. I don't know that we're going to need like millions of power plants to feed these data centers. I think they're just going to get more power efficient, but we'll see. It depends, right? If the applications for AI turn out to be incredibly numerous, maybe we do need more data centers. Like, this is the debate that's currently going on. But I don't think power is the problem.
Some who are old enough like me, who remember the build-up in the late 90s, remember fiber optic cables, telecommunications. And it was all about the number of terabits and whatever the other jargon was that they would carry. But then the determination was made, we don't need that much capacity. And that obviously was part of the reason for the demise of the market for that period. These data centers, there'd be some who would think, these are too big, there's too many of them. Is that, Annie, do you think that that's a case from a capacity standpoint, or are they being utilized quite well?
Well, every company that we've talked to for the last 2 years has been telling us we need more compute, we need more compute, we need more compute. And this is across the board. I don't think we've been a single company that hasn't said that. And so those are the data points that I have for today.
Quantum computing, a question's come in. How does that integrate with AI?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I don't think that they are related. I think that's a complementary technology that people are getting excited about. And just to go back to your previous question a little bit, I think that AI is one part of the story for data centers, but the other part of the story, and Jensen at NVIDIA will tell you this, is that the laws of physics have made the CPU irrelevant, right? We've hit the max, we can't get any smaller. So in order to have more compute for even just the basics of what we do today, we need to move to these GPUs and this parallel processing and all these new things. So the data center requirement is not just AI, it's just general compute has to increase for all the things we do already. So you've got a couple of things going on. You have AI as an accelerator of demand, but you also have the CPU sort of dying out as a workhorse for overall data center stuff. So you got more than one thing going on. And I think that's why we're probably going to see data center build-outs at a pretty large scale for quite a long time.
Hello, investors. We'll be back to the show in just a moment. I wanted to share that here at Fidelity, we value your opinion. Please take a few minutes to help us shape the future of FidelityConnects podcasts. Complete our listener survey by visiting fidelity.ca/survey, and you could win one of our branded tumblers. Periodic draws ending by March 30th, 2026. And don't forget to listen to FidelityConnects, The Upside, and French Dialogue Fidelity podcasts, available on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Now back to today's show.
You've both made it very clear that AI is here to stay, and it's got a huge future and lots to learn, lots of ebbs and flows all over the place. Mark, top three things that you would say are on your radar right now from an AI standpoint.
I'm always looking for applications, and so was Annie. Like, we're always trying to figure out who's the next application. I think that the magic moment for me this year was when we saw Claude for Code really accelerate, and the engineers embrace it and use it, and the tokens count just went crazy. We are actively looking for the next big applications, and we may not find it. We keep looking, but it could be that it's just a whole bunch of little applications. It could be, I don't know, but that is what I spend most of my day thinking about. Who's using AI? How are they using it? Who wins and who loses from that? And then trying to build a portfolio such that I can take advantage of that. Very hard to do. Like, we don't have that much visibility, but if we don't have any visibility, good luck to anyone else. I mean, we're like in the heart of it all, and we're seeing all of the companies doing it. So that's what we're spending our time on.
And Annie, what would you add to that list of key things that are on your radar as far as AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's use cases and also just smart people continuing to be excited and building in the space. We talk to engineers, founders, like so many different people, and like they can see things in advance of what I can see in terms of the roadmap, and there's just so much excitement. So I'm excited about the year ahead.
What's exciting too is how you source information, and by seeing that piece of paper on a lamppost or what have you in 2022,
Sure.
You're still looking at the nooks and crannies, aren't you?
Absolutely.
For what other aspects are complementary or new and interesting things to talk about through social media, through something as simple as a posting on a billboard or what have you.
Yeah. I mean, I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and it's a next-gen AI company, and they're actually, they want to reach a younger audience, and so they actually post a lot of stuff through TikTok. I have friends sending me stuff on Twitter all the time. We have other investors that are making introductions. So the company that Mark was talking about, he had actually texted his son this morning asking, have you heard of this coding review company, the Series A company that had been referred to us by one of their customers and investors. And so we've been really lucky in that, look, one of the best parts of working at Fidelity is you get to talk to almost anyone. And so we've been really lucky to have good access.
Can I give you a fun story?
I love fun stories.
Okay, so I was at I was watching the Seattle Mariners game at my local bar, Harry's.
Of course, it's named Harry's. Yeah.
It's called Harry's Bar. And I was sitting there with my wife watching the Jays play the Mariners. And at the table next to me was a robotics company from Chicago talking to a VC who was wearing his Seattle Mariners hat. And they were doing the meeting while the game was on. And my wife was like this, and she nudged me. She's like, "Hey, Mark, robotics, they're talking robotics." And so then about the sixth inning, I think we weren't ahead yet. I said, "You guys in robotics? Like, I work at Fidelity, private." And then we talked for 20 minutes about their little robotics company in Chicago. That's the kind of thing that happens in the Bay Area. Like, they flew in just to meet VCs, and they're like, "This is amazing. We're at the bar and we're talking to Fidelity." And I can't remember who the other VC was, and it was like, that is an example.
There's some real logic to that, and what it takes me back to is One Up on Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Lynch talking about just absorbing from what's around you, family members, friends, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
That was in an analog way. Now it's in a digital way, or simply at Harry's Bar.
Harry's Bar, watch the baseball game. It's crazy.
Annie, as we wrap, are there key thoughts that you want to leave with our audience today on what it is that you're doing as Director of Private Equities, but also the future that you see?
Sure, absolutely. Like, I think I have just one of the best jobs at Fidelity. I feel so lucky to be where I am. And there's just so much excitement in the space. Like, we're just talking to the people that are building in the space. And I think Mark described it really well. There's the finance folks, and then there are the people that are building the space. And they're just really passionate about what's ahead. And so that makes me excited as well.
You talk about it with a big smile, and that shows that there's a lot of interest and a lot of excitement and a lot of future as well. Mark, some key takeaways for our audience today.
I think that AI is here to stay and is going to revolutionize everything you do. If you're a planner, it's going to take away all those terrible, awful compliance and paperwork and email chains that you have. I know, I've seen some of them. I think it's just going to make your life better, and I'm not scared of it. I'm really not. Science fiction makes us scared of AI, but I think that the use cases are just going to get rid of all the grunt work, just the stuff that we hate to do. And I think it's going to happen quickly. And what I would say too is, and this is what I tell a lot of the youngsters, is embrace it. It's not going away. So figure out how to use it before everyone else does, and just love it, because it's going to get better and you're going to need to use it to compete. And so embrace it.
That's a great takeaway from both of you, but I love the embrace it side of it, because if it's not going away, figure out for you, for me, for you, it's going to be used differently, but it's going to be additive, and it's going to allow us to play pickleball or whatever else it is that you want to do.
Exactly.
Excellent. Annie and Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. It was very interesting, and I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching or listening to the Fidelity Connects podcast. Now, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Fidelity Connects on your podcast platform of choice. And if you like what you're hearing, please leave a review or a 5-star rating. Fidelity mutual funds and ETFs are available by working with a financial advisor or through an online brokerage account. Visit fidelity.ca/howtobuy for more information. While on fidelity.ca, you can also find more information on future live webcasts. And don't forget to follow Fidelity Canada on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We'll end today's show with a short disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Fidelity Investments Canada ULC or its affiliates. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as investment, tax, or legal advice. It is not an offer to sell or buy, or an endorsement, recommendation, or sponsorship of any entity or securities cited. Read a fund's prospectus before investing. Funds are not guaranteed. Their values change frequently, and past performance may not be repeated. Fees, expenses, and commissions are all associated with fund investments. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.